What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, and today we're going to be checking out the Wurkkos HD50 Headlamp. The HD50 has a maximum output of 4,000 lumens, and it's running around $40 over on Amazon. So as always, I'll make sure to leave a link down in the description where you can pick one up if you're interested. And this one has a ton of different features for a headlamp. We have our spotlight mode in the middle, a floodlight here on the right, a combo mode where you can use both simultaneously, as well as a red light mode, and they all have the same user interface, which makes it really easy to get down and learn. And so really nice kind of features out of this one. We'll start with the strap itself, because this is probably the most important part of a headlamp, is you have a comfortable strap to wear it on, otherwise you're just not going to use it. I find this one to be very comfortable, very adjustable. You can see I have it set to my head size, and there's room to adjust in either direction, and so it should fit most heads very comfortably and have plenty of room to adjust to smaller heads, larger heads, probably even hard hats, although I haven't tried this with a hard hat. I would imagine at full extension you should be able to get over a hard hat no problem as well, and so lots of different options there. This is really intended to be used as a headlamp, and so you can remove the light from the strap, but it's not really optimized for using as a standalone flashlight, but can definitely be done. It's not going to have any other mounting options like magnetic tail caps or pocket clips, two-way pocket clips, anything like that, since it really is intended to be used as a headlamp, but we will remove it in just a moment here. Another important piece of that strap is the mounting plate here, and so this is kind of a rubberized material rather than a hard plastic, which I really like because it contours to the shape of your head. With some of them where you have a harder mount, when you tighten it down too much, it can irritate your head, even give you a headache, and so like having that kind of flexible mount on here. It also makes it really easy to add it and remove it from the headband, because it just has these two straps that go into grooves on the flashlight, and you can just stretch it off and slide those off really easily. So we'll actually remove this for the duration of the video, just so it's a little bit easier to show off the flashlight portion, and so we can see the entire body of that flashlight. Now, this is a 6061 aluminum. It's about 3.38 inches long, and then this face is about 1.14 inches wide. Weighs in at 6.5 ounces. I weighed it with the battery as well as the strap, since that's how you're going to be using it. This is running off a 21700 lithium ion battery that is USB-C rechargeable. You do get a cord in the package as well as the head strap, obviously. Has that nice dust cover here to cover up our USB-C port, which keeps us IP67 waterproof and dustproof. This is also rated for 1.5 meters in impact resistance. I'm glad it's a little bit higher than your typical 1 meters that you see on a lot of flashlights, since this is going to be mounted a little bit higher on your head, so it gives you a little bit more peace of mind for accidental drops. And a lot of times you'll hopefully be dropping it into dirt, grass, things like that, which will cushion the fall, but onto cement or rocks you're covered for up to a 1.5 meter impacts. Now, in terms of the user interface, all super simple. We have a control button here on the left and then a mode button on the right. Well, depending on which direction you're looking at it, obviously that's reversed if you're looking from the other direction. And so it's really easy to find those. They're elevated and rubberized, and so they're a different material. Easy to find them on your head and easy to control without removing that strap from your head, so you don't need to see those buttons to know what's going on. And the user interface for all of the different modes is exactly the same, with one exception, it being our SOS mode, and that you can get to by triple clicking at any point, no matter what setting you left it in. And so you always have access to the SOS, which is a red flashing light in this case. We'll get to that when we get to the red light. We'll start with our main light, our spotlight. So all of these different modes, whether it's a spotlight, floodlight, combo, or red light, have your main modes, which are low, medium, and high, which you access by single clicking, and that has a memory mode only for those modes. So if you're using Eco or Turbo, which have special kind of interfaces to access them, it's not going to remember those modes, only your low, medium, or high. So again, we're starting with our spotlight. The low one here is 50 lumens, a pretty bright low overall, which I really like, because on your headlamp, you're going to want to have that brighter low, I think, just a little bit more than your flashlight, which you may be carrying a little bit closer to whatever you're trying to illuminate. On your head, you're not going to be right up against it. And so I like having that brighter low, 50 lumens with a 52-hour runtime. Now, a long press while you're on will cycle through the modes. So long press to our medium gets us 400 lumens for a 6-hour runtime. Long pressing one more time gets us to high, which is 1,000 lumens for 3.75 hours. And again, this is our spotlight, so we have that kind of tight controlled beam in the center. Long press again gets us down to our low mode. Single click at any point, it's going to turn us off, and wherever you turn it off, obviously, is where it's going to go back on. Also worth noting, whatever mode you're in when you cycle is the mode you'll be in, the equivalent mode that you'll be in when you get to the next mode. So if I go from spotlight to floodlight, in medium, it'll go to the medium version of the floodlight. And so worth keeping in mind. And then last but not least, we have our long press while it's off for our eco mode. That's going to be 1 lumen, 980 hours. And so on headlamps especially, I don't use these eco or moonlight modes particularly often, so I do like that's a separate control, but you get the extreme runtime, 980 hours. So if you know you need to conserve that battery life, this is a mode you're going to want to be in. And if you long press from here, it will go back into the cycle, or if you single click from there, it will just go off. Now, whether you're on or off, when you double click it from any of these modes, you're going to get to your turbo for that mode. And so that's going to be 3000 lumens, 2-hour runtime here. And again, cycling will take you back into the main cycle, or single clicking will turn you off. Now, they don't list any step down because they use ATR, which is their advanced temperature regulation, which always tries to regulate the heat to a maximum of either 60 degrees Celsius or 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And so the brightness reduces as it reaches those temperatures. So if you're in the middle of the desert during the summer, that might reduce a little bit faster versus if you're up on a mountain in the winter where it's going to reduce a little bit slower, although that cold weather may also be draining your battery. So it may work out pretty similar, but worth keeping in mind, there's no just kind of immediate step down or time step down. It's based off of temperature. And so it's going to regulate accordingly. So there's no real way to kind of list those out. But again, if we're in turbo mode, it's going to go into whatever mode you're currently in. So there's no way to jump into the ultra turbo, which is the combo of the spotlight and floodlight turbo, unless you're in that mode specifically when you double click. Although when you double click it, it will go into turbo and you can swap modes from there while it's on or off. And so actually, I'm sorry, not while it's off, while it's on. And so we'll go back on and we're going to cycle over to our floodlight mode. And so you can see when I lift this one up, it's a lot more floody, not a controlled beam, and that'll be more obvious as we get into those other brightnesses versus the spotlight of our main center LED. And so the low mode here is about 50 lumens as well, 52-hour runtime, so identical to what we see in the spotlight mode, but it is going to vary as soon as we go up to our medium, which is 150 lumens for 13 hours. And again, same exact user interface, so I'm just long pressing here to cycle through. Our high is 350 lumens for a 6-hour runtime, and here we can see that bloody light a little bit better in that brighter mode, and then holding it again will take us back to our low mode. We'll turn it off, and then long pressing while we're off will get your eco mode. This is again 1 lumen for 980 hours of runtime, so identical to our spotlight, just a little bit of a different output. Now from here we can single click to turn it off, double click while it's on or off to get into our turbo for 1000 lumens out of our turbo. And that's going to run for 4.5 hours. Single click will turn you off, or long press will cycle back into your main cycle. We'll go back on one more time and cycle over to our combo mode. And you can see we have both LEDs here lit up. And so you're getting both your spotlight and floodlight. And we'll take a look at that when we get into the higher modes. But 100 lumens on low, so it's stepping up because we have 2 LEDs putting it out. 21 hours of runtime, so obviously we're exchanging the brightness for the runtime. Long press takes us to 550 lumens in our medium mode for 4.5 hours, and then high is 1350 lumens for 3.25 hours. And again, when we lift this up, we have the tight controlled beam, we have the flood, so it's a nice combo of both. My camera is doing its best to adjust to these, so it doesn't kind of washes out after a while as it adjusts to it. But when we turn that off, we can go into our eco mode with that long press once again. Now we're getting 2 lumens for 680 hours, so a little bit more output from our eco mode. This is probably the better of the white eco modes because you're getting a little more output, but you're again trading that for time. 680 hours of runtime here. Turning it off and into our turbo, this is where we get the max output, 4000 lumens. And ultra bright, throwing off a ton of heat, 2.5 hour runtime. But again, that's not going to be entirely accurate as it adjusts for the temperature. It's going to reduce that brightness. Now turning it back on and cycling to our red light mode. Here we have our low, which is 8 lumens for 62.5 hours. We have our medium, which is 40 lumens for 11 hours. Our high, 75 lumens for 6 hours. And this is a really nice red output, by the way. A lot of lights that have red light, we're not getting quite this bright. So really nice red output on here. We'll turn it off, go into our eco mode, which is a half lumen for 1250 hours. This one's really nice because obviously red light preserves your night vision, but I feel like this half lumen is really pulling its weight. It feels a little bit brighter than the 1 lumen or even 2 lumen modes of the white light modes. And so you're getting 1250 hours of runtime here as well. So it can also extend that runtime if you need it. And then we do have a turbo even in our red mode, so 135 lumens here. Very bright red light, 5 hours of runtime here. And again, the red light, it's good for preserving your night vision. It's a little bit easier on your eyes, but it's also easier to spot. A lot of people are kind of conditioned to seeing white or yellow light, and so it's easy to kind of tune it out. But with that red light, it stands out amongst other lights. And so if you're trying to signal, obviously that's going to be your better option, which is why our SOS mode is here. So if we triple click, whoops. There we go. If we triple click, we have our SOS mode, which is 75 hours. They don't list a runtime here, but I would imagine that if we kind of extrapolate from what we have, it's going to be a minimum of 6 hours, since 75 lumens in the constant on is 6 hours, and probably a little bit more than that even. I would guess somewhere between the 6 and 11 hour mark with that. And so really nice to have that. And you can access that from any mode. So even though we were in red light mode, if we turn this off and we triple click, we'll still get our SOS mode, so you'll always have immediate access to that SOS, which is good. Obviously, if you're out on the trails or something like that, you can always get to your SOS pretty quickly. Now, the last mode isn't really, I guess, a mode, but we do have a lockout feature here as well, which you can get by simultaneously long pressing both buttons for about a second or so, and you'll get a little flash indicating that it's there. You may have also noticed that you're going to have a battery indicator, which you probably won't be able to see while it's on your head, but it makes it really easy to check where your battery is at. So obviously in the manual, it'll list all the different percentages and what you're going to see. You have the flashing green, the solid green, the flashing red, and the solid red. While you're charging, it flashes red the entire time until you get to 100%. So 0 to 99%, it's going to flash red just to let you know that it's charging. And then once it's fully charged, you'll hit your green mode. The battery is removable. It's just a 21700, so you can have extra if you need it while you're out. You know you're going to run through that battery and deplete it before you get back to a charger. You can bring multiples and toss those in there. And again, USB-C rechargeable. It has the little arrows to let you know how to open and close it, all very straightforward. And then again, mounting it's very straightforward as well. You just kind of stretch these rings over until they slot into those grooves, and it makes it really easy to get that strap on and off. But that's it for this one. I would love to hear your thoughts on it down in the comments. Actually, one thing I didn't mention about the strap, this is fully rotatable 180 degrees, so you can point straight up in the air, straight down at your feet, and anywhere in between. So you have a lot of versatility in where that's going to be pointed for you as well. But again, would love to hear your thoughts on it down in the comments. I'll make sure to leave a link in the description. As always, if you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, checking out some of my other content. All helps the channel out a ton, and I hope you have a great one. Take care.